Hello, I'd like to introduce you guys in independent podcasting from basement hobbyists to global mainstream media. Now, in 2006, only 6% of people not only listen to a podcast or know what a podcast was in general, but today, over 5 million people listen and aware of what podcasts are. And coming from myself, who's a content creator, a DJ, and also have 7 years experience having a podcast, I've seen the podcast evolve all the way from the beginning all the way to the top. So let's get into it today. Podcast has returned media to the era of storytelling. It has a personal connection. You no longer need the typical traditional radio and television as far as getting media. With podcasts, demand is accessible. You can get it right away through your phones, tablets, whatever the case may be. It comes in immediately, every day, all day. And it's authenticity over production. Meaning, people love to hear the realness and things that they can relate to over the actual production. And it's a direct to audience distribution. Again, it's not the same as traditional media. It's a lot easier to get access to. Now, I did a survey that included 6 people, and out of the 6 people, 100% people listen to podcasts weekly, and 83% thought about making their own podcast, and that's a huge number. So 5 out of 6 people decided, or they're capable of making their own podcast, 83%. And out of these 6 people that did the survey, they all were tech savvy, so they all familiar on what a podcast is and what it takes to create one. We on a hobbyist era. This is 2004, 2005. Now the term was actually coined by Ben Hemmersley. He came up with the term podcast. Before then, podcast, the term was never heard of, never even created. And a year later, by Steve Jobs, he introduced podcasts to Apple. And Apple would support that through MP3s, iPods, and you could get podcasts anywhere, as long as it was in an MP3 form. In 2014, one of the biggest podcasts exploded. It reached up to 5 million viewers. It opened up the floodgates for potential creators to want to do their own podcast. They've seen the vision, they've seen the dream. If this podcast and these people can do it, I can do it as well. And that podcast, by the way, was called Serial. It got over 5 to 10 million downloads. That was the very first podcast that made it big. The 3 steps of production. Pre-production, which is you're doing your research, you're doing your stories, and you're also doing the guest booking. It starts the foundation of the show. You want to figure out before you start the show, who you want to have on, what do you want to tell the stories about, how long the podcast is actually going to be. Second is recording. You want to capture a nice, quiet environment so the quality of the sound of the podcast is great, and the people that's listening, they don't have a problem listening to the audio. And post-production, meaning mixing, editing, whatever it takes to add the final piece to the podcast. That also could include adding a certain soundtrack of music. Now we're talking about the creator kit tool of podcast. The first one is hardware. That can be an XLR mic, that can be a MacBook, that could be, as you see here, if you can see here, a pop filter for the mic. Now before they used to use condenser mics, which made the quality of the microphone not that good to speak to. Now XLR mics are more professional and it sounds like you actually listen to a radio. Software. On Macs, you have Audacity. I used to use Audacity for years. It was free. Why not use it? It comes with the Mac. You can edit your voice, you can change the tone of your voice. It handles all the audio sounds. Also, free with Mac, GarageBand. And you have a host of different kind of platforms that you could use in order to use software on podcasts. And last is video. Nowadays, people use webcams, they use their phones, they use actual cameras to do videos that they can edit and put on YouTube. Today, the global listenership growth estimate 619 million active listeners this year. Again, that number is 619 million active listening members as far as podcasts, compared to 2006 when it was only 11%. And the majority of compared to all the platforms, we're talking about Spotify, we're talking about iTunes, the number one platform used to watch podcasts daily is YouTube. The future is independent. You no longer need permission to speak to the world. All you need to do is just do it yourself. You don't have to have a license or anything to start your own podcast, as you did back in the past. You had a lot of gatekeepers. You need to pay some kind of fee, some kind of license to start your own podcast. Now, you just need your phone, you just need your camera, you just need your laptop, and just hit record. And that's it.